Greetings, leaders. My name is Livinus. I'm here to explain the fundamentals of cloud computing and the related security issues. Leaders, be attentive to this helpful extremity. I would explain each type of services and models of cloud computing. A paradigm for providing constant, practically on-demand accessible networks to a pool of common reconfigurable resources of computer is called cloud computing. For example, server, network, storage, services, as well as applications. These technologies allows organizations to scale up and down their resources usage as needed without having to invest in a new infrastructure or training new personnel. There are four main types of cloud services: the software as a service, also known as SaaS; platform as a service, also known as PaaS; infrastructure as a service, also known as IaaS, as well as data as a service, also known as DaaS. I will speak on the software as a service, which is the SaaS. SaaS provides customers with access to a software application, typically hosted by a service provider over the internet. SaaS is a kind of cloud service that gives customers access to a software. SaaS is a method of delivering software that uses the cloud and may be accessed online. Typically, it is used for applications of firms, that is customers relationship management, as well as enterprise resource planning. SaaS firms often bill customers according to how many resources they utilize. Let me speak on the platform as a service, also known as PaaS. PaaS provides customers with access to a development and deployment platform, typically hosted by a service provider for building applications. Users of PaaS have access to a platform for creating and operating applications. PaaS is a sort of cloud services. It enables the development of, testing of, and deployment of applications. Usually, web-based app utilizes it, and users are often charged by the number of resources they utilize by PaaS suppliers. Let me speak on infrastructure as a service, also known as the IaaS. The IaaS provides customers with access to a pooled on-demand computer infrastructure, typically hosted by service provider. Infrastructure as a service is a cloud-based infrastructure that gives companies access to computational resources, including server, storage, and networking. Users get access to a virtualized computer environment thanks to it. Applications and data may both be stored and executed in this environment. Users are often charged by the numbers of resources they utilize by IaaS providers. I will speak on data as a service, also known as the DaaS. The DaaS is a cloud-based service that gives customers access to tools and resources for data analytics. DaaS is made to assist users in deriving insight from their data and improving business choices. Users of DaaS may opt to pay from the services on a monthly or yearly basis, since it is a subscription-based service. At this junction, I will compare and contrast local resource requirements, local control, network requirements, and security, attacks, mitigation, and overall vulnerabilities of a cloud computing. The cloud represents a new way of computing where, instead of locally installed software and hardware, users access remote resources that are provided over the network. This shift has many advantages, such as increased flexibility, scalability, and decreased cost. However, it also introduced some new challenges, particularly in the areas of local resource requirements, local control, network requirements, and security. Let me talk on local resource requirements. In cloud computing, local resource requirement refers to the number of resources, for instance, CPU, memories, storage, that are required to be available locally in order to use the cloud services. Local resources such as CPU, memories, and storage are required in order to use software application. Instead, with virtualization, these resources are often made available remotely via the net. This shift has many advantages, such as freeing up local resources and reducing the needs of expensive hardware. However, it also introduced some challenges, especially in network terms of reliability and fastness. I will speak on local control. In the traditional model of computing, users have complete control over the software and the hardware that is installed locally. But with cloud computing, users instead rely on a provider to manage and control resources that are used by the cloud services. This shift can be beneficial as it can result in increased efficiency and reduce costs. However, it also introduces some challenges, particularly in terms of security and privacy. Let me talk on network requirements. In cloud computing, network requirement refers to the need for a reliable and high-speed network connections in order to use the cloud services. In the traditional model of computing, software applications are typically installed locally and run on the user's own computer. With cloud computing, applications are instead provided remotely, typically over the internet. This shift has many advantages such as increased flexibility and scalability. However, it also introduced some challenges, especially in network terms of reliability and fastness. Let me talk on security. In cloud computing, security refers to the protection of data and resources from unauthorized access and attacks. This includes the use of security measures such as encryption, employment of firewalls, authentications, and authorization. In a traditional model of computing, security is typically provided by the local security measures such as encryption and authentication. But with cloud computing, security is instead provided by the provider of the cloud services. This shift has many advantages such as increased security and reduced costs. However, it also introduced some challenges, particularly in terms of potentials for attacks like data breach and denials of service attacks. Furthermore, on security, data loss can occur if data is accidentally deleted or if it is not stored in a secured location. Data breach can occur when unauthorized users gain access to data. Account hijacking can occur when unauthorized users gain access to an account and uses it to access data to perform actions on behalf of the account owner. I will talk on security risk. Security risks can be mitigated by taking some simple precautions. For example, data should be backed up regularly to avoid data loss. Users also should be careful to choose a reputable and secure cloud computing service. And finally, users should enable two-factor authentication, the 2FA, for their accounts to prevent account hijacking. Overall, the vulnerability of cloud computing is relatively high, since data is often stored in an unsecured location and unauthorized users can gain access to data relatively easily. However, there are some steps that can be taken to mitigate these risks. For example, data should be backed up regularly to avoid data loss. Users should also be careful to choose a reputable and a secured cloud computing service. And finally, users should enable two-factor authentication for their accounts to help prevent account hijacking. Into that bargain and fall buy of the cloud computing, I will talk on virtualization platform. Demand-based self-service, widespread accessible network, pooling of resources, quick adaptability, as well as their service that is measurable, all constitute crucial cloud element of computing. With on-demand self-service, customers may self-provide computer resources as required and without contacting the service provider, including virtual machines, storage, and networking. Users who have broad network access may access cloud resources from any devices and over any network, including the public network, the private network, or a mobile network. Examples of such devices and networks include the desktop computer, laptop, tablet, and smartphone. Resources pooling refers to the use of a multi-tenant architecture to service several customers while keeping each customer's data separate from that of other customers. Users may quickly and elastically scale up and down the numbers of VMs they employ to suit their computing demands, which is referred to as fast elasticity. With a measured service, clients have insights into and control over their resources are being utilized, since the cloud provider automatically monitors and meters each customer's resources utilization. Let me talk on service-oriented architecture. Architecture that facilitates the delivery of service via a network are called service-oriented architecture. A collection of guidelines and techniques known as service-oriented architecture are used in designing and development of software application as a service. Designing application as a set of service that can be called from a network is known as the service-oriented architecture. At this junction, I will speak on deployment model: private, public, community, and hybrid service. A cloud service deployment methodology, or how it is implemented, may have a significant influence on the service itself. Private, public, community, and hybrid deployment method are the four that are most often used for cloud services. The private service. A private network, often owned or managed by the company employing the service, is where a private cloud service is implemented. This guarantees that the service is only available to authorized users and offers the business total control over it. A service provider who makes its resources such as VM storage and networking access to a single business offers private cloud services across a private network. Due to the organization some responsibilities for setting up and maintaining the private network, private cloud services are sometimes more costly than alternative deployment options. The public service. Anyone with an internet connection may use a public service since it is set up on the open internet. For cloud service like social media or emails that is intended for a large audience, this deployment techniques is often employed. As the service provider pays for the infrastructure, public cloud services may be less costly than private cloud services. The community cloud services. A shared network that is often owned or managed by a group of enterprises with comparable requirements is where a community cloud service is installed. With the help of this deployment strategy, business may pool resources and knowledge while also splitting the cost of infrastructure. Organizations that needs to cooperate on projects or data may find the community cloud services a variable choice. Hybrid cloud service. The deployment of a hybrid cloud services uses both private and public networks. With the help of this deployment strategy, businesses may store certain data and apps on their own private network while storing others on the public cloud. Organizations that wish to benefit from the scalability and flexibility of the public cloud while still remaining some degree of control over their data and app may find that hybrid cloud services as a viable solution. Let me talk on security, storage, legal / privacy issues. Cloud computing security, storage, and legal privacy issues are important considerations when using cloud service. Service provider must implement security controls to protect data in the cloud. Data must be stored securely to prevent data loss, and customers must be aware of their legal and privacy rights when using cloud services. Security is the primary concern when using cloud services. Service provider must implement security control to protect data in the cloud. Data must be stored securely to prevent data loss. Customers must be aware of their legal and privacy rights when using cloud services. Storage is another important consideration when using cloud storage services. Data must be stored securely to prevent data loss. Customers must be aware of their legal and privacy rights when using cloud services. Legal and privacy issues are also important consideration when using cloud service. customers must be aware of their legal and privacy rights when using cloud services. Thank you for listening. God bless you.